Hey everybody, so we are doing the review and project reveal of the Double Weave sampler. So I'm actually going to get to what I'm most excited about, which is the last video I mentioned I was working on a secret little project, and here it is. So I will admit the finishes are not, the finest. Uh, I just did a simple little zigzag stitch across the hems to kind of hold them together so that I didn't have to do anything extra. I stitched the sleeves on by hand because my sewing machine couldn't fit inside the sleeve very well. So it was very difficult to sew those edges. So it's pretty unattractive. But for my first attempt, I'm really excited about it. It's literally just a little mini cardigan. Right now, honestly, it looks more like it belongs to a scarecrow, which, it's fall, so it works. But you can kind of choose which side I want to be the interior versus exterior on where I want the phrase. So if I turn it this way, because see, the hems are a little bit smoother on this side. But if I really wanted to go with a scarecrow look, I would just flip it this way and go ahead and keep the little sleeve fringes going here. So this didn't take very much time, and I had a lot of fun doing it, even though it's not the prettiest finishes. I would definitely want to practice more if it was something I was doing seriously. But all in all, I'm really happy with it, and it'll be fun for like a little doll or something. Or maybe I'll give it to my young nephew because he's just gonna rough it up. After that, we have the awesome sampler, which here it is. And if we wanted, we could turn this into a wall hanging. So I tried different fringe sizes and color mixtures to see which I liked the best. And honestly, the ones I liked the most was this one, which was 8 threads total. So 4 yellow, 4 charcoal, and I would move one of the yellow threads into the charcoal. And I really liked that look, or vice versa. I did that with a couple others. And I thought that was the best looking of the options for the fringes. Or, this was just a twist of bulk, and it was okay. I wasn't in love with it. This was the two colors completely separated, which again, I don't know. With the sampler, I always just try to take the chance to try different things and see what I like. So if I ever did a large scale project, I can look at my sampler and be like, oh no, this is the one I liked, and do that. So it doesn't totally match, but I'm happy with that. And you kind of see all the different techniques we did all throughout. So there's actually quite a bit here, which was kind of fun. A lot of people do like to turn theirs into a decorative piece. Obviously, since as I said, I test things on my sampler, mine is not finished to the point where I would make it a decorative piece. This is probably just going to be more of a reference piece for me. And that is entirely up to you on what you want to do with that. And I overwarped. I had way more warp left than I intended, so I also made some little cloths. They're just little burp cloths. I know people who are still in the having baby age, although I'm running out of those people. Like most of us are in our late 30s, early 40s. So we're running out of the baby making age, but I still know a few people who are in it. And uh, I always have burp cloths to give away now, so this is convenient. Whenever I have leftover warp, I generally try to, if it's a narrower warp, say, at 9 to 12 inches, which this was right at that 9 inches, I'll try to whip up a couple extra cloths or an extra cloth just to have ready to give away. And sometimes I do the folded hems, but lately I've just been liking the simple zigzag stitch for the hems because I hate folding them. I'm not going to lie, it's because I'm lazy and I just absolutely hate it. Overall, I will say the process of double weave was really fun and I actually enjoyed it. There was a couple techniques I just wasn't loving. I did not love the quilting technique. I wanted to love it so bad and I didn't like it. If I was doing the double cloth, honestly, with how much longer it takes to warp and set up, I don't really see it being more advantageous than just making a long warp and leaving one layer. So that's kind of my opinion there. So that's maybe not what people want to hear. Um, and but when it came to other techniques, I did see a lot of fun and value to them. So if I wanted an extra thick cloth, yes, double weave is awesome because wherever I wanted to make the cloth really thick, I could pull the layers together and create a tube, but I could always just hem stitch the bottom and now that tube is solid. So, or I could just do the mixed colors like I did with this. So all the layers are connected to each other. Like this isn't sliding. This part, I can't. Oh, actually I can. Okay, so I can still pull it apart. But it's a little tube. You could do it where it's more connected in the center, like when I up here where I did the color changes, or where I did the cool little zigzags here, or the decorative designs. So that would give me 2 layers, and it's extra thick. It's still got that cool design right there. And I might do something like that for if I wanted to make a nice throw or something decorative. I could definitely see doing that for a wall hanging or a decorative piece. Sorry if you hear that. My dog's walking in. He's just so loud. Um, but I also saw the value if I wanted to make like a tunic or this little cardigan. I'd have to up my sewing skills. But on a larger scale, I think it would be easier to sew than it was because anywhere I did the tubes, they actually came out quite nice. The tubes were pretty even. The separation of the cloth was super easy and convenient, so I didn't have to make a bunch of panels. And for this, I actually used a couple techniques. So one of them was the separated tubes, obviously. And then where I showed you how I did that slit for if you wanted to do a tunic, I just did that the entire process, and that was pretty easy. The only place I shifted it was when I came up to where I was going to connect the sleeves because I needed, obviously, this part to be open. And at that point, just for a small section, I just did a double cloth weave. So the same technique I used to make these, I used to do this. And then I just switched colors. So you can see kind of right there. I switched the colors real quick and I left a gap in the center that I just didn't weave. And I did the same thing on this side, but I wove the back, but not the front. So that created the connection for the shoulders without it being something that's going to take up your entire neck space. So I don't know. I thought the whole process was really fun. It was an exciting learning process. And at the end of it, I felt like I learned a lot of techniques that I could apply to different things and make really fun projects in the future using this technique. Um, I honestly think the ones I would want to do more in the future would likely be more of the tunic style, which is the tube or which is the tubes and slits, or the double width. Because sometimes you just want, a bigger project than you can make on your loom. So, sorry, if you have a 10 or 15-inch loom, you can make it twice as wide, so you're getting closer to a 20 or 30-inch project, which is exciting for weaving on a small loom. Because at that point, you can make these large shawls, you can make all these exciting things without having that huge footprint in your house of a wider loom. And I definitely like that idea, and I would love to. So I'm glad that which is something I really like because honestly, like this, the loom I have takes up a lot of space. And normally I don't really pick things that take up that much space. I like them a little bit smaller, but there was a deal on this, so I'm not going to complain. Uh, and I know a lot of people are conscious about how much space they have for that type of project or that type of hobby. So it's always great to consider that you can still make these really big projects and have a little loom. And it does make it better. So if you're making, say you want to make a blanket and you only have a, 15-inch loom, like a little table loom or a little floor loom, whatever, just 15 inches, you can make 30-inch panels. So you do 2 double weave panels, and suddenly you have a 60-inch blanket, which is good for like a twin. And then obviously you add more panels, but it becomes a far more obtainable task than going, oh, I need to weave this 6 15-inch panels, which would be a lot. You would just double weave 3 panels. And that's, to me, that just makes it seem far more attainable. Because if I look at something and I'm going to like, oh man, I'm going to have to do this many panels, I'm going to get overwhelmed and I'm not going to want to do it. But if I'm like, oh, I only have to do it like 3 times, I could take a break. I would like, boop, and I could still knock it out in a reasonable amount of time. So that just might be me. What do you think? I'd love to have you guys leave a comment and share how you intend to use double weave or how you have used double weave in the past. And if you've enjoyed this entire series, which technique do you now want to try after seeing all of these different techniques in play? What do you want to create? I'd love to learn. I'd love to find out. So why don't we chat about that in the comments? I'd love to learn a little bit more. And that's all I have for today. You have an awesome one.